Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Today we're going to be talking about NXT from October the 4th, 2022. No real significant news and notes. I guess, WWE has a new director of creative or something like that. So do you guys want to talk about that? All right, because there's no point in me saving it for the live stream, considering I'm not going to say that, but let's just say they have a new director of long-term creative. So let's talk about that. So this is from Meltzer's site, Wrestling Observer, Figure 4 Online. It says WWE has hired a director of long-term creative. Horror writer Rob Fee was chosen for the position and started with the company last month. Fee's LinkedIn profile reads, quote, a horror writer for Marvel, penning comics for Spider-Man, Daredevil, and the Avengers. He was head writer on multiple Disney shows, including 100 episodes of Disney XD's top-rated series, Player Select. According to a report from Fightful Select, Fee once pitched a, quote, Fiend-related movie to WWE. Bray Wyatt was released shortly after he did so, however, so nothing came of the idea. Fee has reportedly been working on the production of the White Rabbit QR code messages in recent weeks as well. He is said to be a longtime follower of wrestling. Fee also produced multiple series for Will Smith, including Fresh Prince Reunion. He also worked as a producer on The Ellen Show, MTV's Ridiculousness, and has served as a creative consultant for Netflix. I did personal research and found out that he's actually a weirdo on Reddit. So we got a Redditor helping to run WWE's creative. I also looked up his comic book credits. I think he wrote an Avengers Halloween special from 2019 and a Red Goblin. I don't know if it was a one shot or it was just the first issue from 2018. For those of you who are, comic book guys, the Red Goblin is that odd mixture of the Green Goblin and Carnage that they had for a short time in the Spider-Man books. All right. So, he's been on Reddit. He was from at least 2 years ago when I looked him up. He said he was a fan of AEW and that some of his favorite wrestlers were Orange Cassidy, David Starr, the flaming communist David Starr, and it was some other ridiculous wrestlers. And he's a big fan of AEW. But this was 2 years ago, back when AEW would have been hot and it would have been the hottest thing in the business. But it says a lot that we got Redditors in WWE creative now. I thought we were supposed to keep the marks out of the business. Triple H. I thought we was keeping the marks out. Well, if he's behind the QR codes, and he's not behind all of them, because again, he comes on Reddit essentially after pretty much every QR code, and he's been telling Reddit which ones are his and which ones aren't. But so he's been working on that. It's hard for me to. I'm not going to judge the guy based off of what I saw, because I didn't see anything that I was needed to be impressed about. I mean, I'm not impressed that he was executive producer or writer on a show I'd never heard of, or on freaking Ellen DeGeneres. That all sounds terrible. But I know WWE, and WWE, especially the Stephanie McMahon, her hirings, have always been, how much experience do you have in television? And all he needs to say is, I worked at Marvel, and I worked at Disney. That's kind of, I worked at Netflix. He's got the right stuff on his resume. Now, you look at the kind of stuff that he was creating. Was any of it any good? I don't know. I never read the comic books that he wrote, so I don't know if those are any good. I never watched any of the TV shows that he had ever helped write or executive produced, or any of the Netflix specials that he was a creative consultant on, unless some of them were Marvel shows or some other odd, maybe Netflix thing that I watched. But it ain't looking good. The QR code stuff is pretty good for right now. So I'm willing to cut him some slack, at least for that. So we're going to take it a little bit at a time, but, a director of long-term creative, it sounds like he's just going to be like an editor, which is kind of what Vince needed. Somebody to remind you of the lore and the things you've already said, and that you're not constantly contradicting yourself. and you could actually play off of the history that you have with somebody, or it wouldn't. To be quite honest, this might be a good idea to have. If you're going to have a position like this, it might be a good idea to have a geek mark or whatever in this role, because they tend to remember every nook and cranny of wrestling. And now that I see that they're doing, Chad Gable is doing promos saying, "Oh, I was your first match to Braun Strowman," and acknowledging their history going all the way back to the developmental and all that kind of stuff. It seems like something that a long-time fan would focus on, and not anything that Triple H or, heavens to Betsy, Kevin Dunn, Bruce Pritchard, and they ain't paying attention to that. So it seems like there is, somebody else in the room who is like, hey, we could play off of this history because he maybe knows it. So the guy is a fan, not necessarily a fan. I don't know. Maybe he's a WWE fan too. I don't know, but I didn't go back that far either. So it's not like I did like a deep dive on his life or anything like that. I don't even know what his birthstone is or what his birthday is or anything like that. I just wanted to know who the guy was, So I kind of know, and I'm not really all that excited, but it is what it is, man. We gotta roll with the punches in the Triple H era. All right, so speaking of rolling with the punches, it's supposed to have been a new NXT, but it looked mostly the same to me. They just changed the color scheme, which is weird because nobody cares that Dynamite has so much color. People only care that NXT has so much color. So the first thing I saw was Sudu Shah. And I instantaneously was like, what the hell? They got rid of Vic Joseph. But it turns out that Vic Joseph is actually just, he's an immigrant of some kind. I guess he's Canadian or something. He's having some immigration problems. And then they had, Byron Saxon. He was there. I don't know why we needed him. But this Sudu Shah guy is pretty inoffensive. I know he does level up. He sounds just like pretty much all of the WWE colorless, faceless commentators, the Josh Grishams and all those guys. People say Vic Joseph is kind of like that too, but Vic Joseph is actually good. I like Vic Joseph. So Sudu Shah was with us throughout the evening. He didn't say anything too stupid. He didn't get in the way at all, so it was all right. Also, Kelly Kincaid, who was Quinn McKay in Ring of Honor, she was the our microphone stand for tonight. The usual microphone stand for NXT was not present. I don't know where she was. Maybe, hurricane stuff, maybe. But I'm a big fan of Quinn McKay. I think that she should probably be wrestling or being a personality on NXT. It's clear that somebody just doesn't know what she can do, because she's been in Level Up forever doing backstage stuff when she has the ability to do more. But I don't know. Maybe our long-term creative director or whatever the hell is actually familiar with late stage Ring of Honor, and it can get. Her name is Kelly Kincaid in NXT, by the way. All right, so let's get into this show. Pretty Deadly come out dressed like English lords, which told us it was a relief for me, because I was like, oh God, what 15-minute match are they about to start this show with? But instead, they started the show with Pretty Deadly being dressed like English lords, which I was like, oh, this is delightful. We get Pretty Deadly, which is great. They out there early, which is great. And they're going to be in a segment, which is great. The downside is this segment was very long, and it was a little too long. So Pretty Deadly were talking about history and giving us a history lesson, talking about how the English came over to the United States and to the Americas and made it better. I'm pretty sure that triggered some people. And they are the new pilgrims. They came over to make NXT better. And that they've beaten everyone. They ran down all the tag teams and made fun of them. And said that they should be named the champions forever, because there are no opponents. This brought out the Brawling Brutes, Ridge Holland and Butch, who have a strangely Irish theme song now. I don't understand why they have an Irish theme song, considering only one of them is Irish. And he wasn't there. So apparently the Brawling Brutes and Pretty Deadly got into a tiff on Twitter. And Ridge Holland and Butch came to see what's up about it and said that you guys were talking tough on Twitter. We come to see if you really want to talk tough. To which Pretty Deadly proclaimed that they were hacked. Then they said they were hacked by Kevin Nash. Then they said, no, Kevin Owens. Then it was Kevin Patrick. And it was just, it was ridiculous. So the Brawling Brutes got in the ring and got beat up. Because of course they would. They would beat up the goddamn Pretty Deadly. They would do that, wouldn't they? So the opening segment was fine. I did not like that Pretty Deadly was out there so long. I just felt like it was too long. It could have shortened that segment by 2 or 3 minutes, and maybe even more than that, maybe 4 or 5 minutes. It made things a little bit easier for everybody. Later on in the show, the Brawling Brutes were backstage warming up when Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs appeared. Said they wanted the first shot if the Brutes won. The Idris Enofe and Malik Blade claimed they also wanted a tag team title match if the Brutes won. The two teams got to arguing before Ridge Holland, who is the voice of this team apparently, told them that they had to stop this, that Idris Enofe and Malik Blade needs to be more serious, and that Briggs and Jensen both need to be as aggressive as they were against Gallus. So then Butch says that all this talking, I'm kind of done. It's fight night. And then they went out there to have the match. Oddly enough, on the damn night that they have Tales from the Territories on Vice, and I was actually very interested in seeing that, NXT decided to have an overrun. So they overran about, 5 or 10 minutes, maybe more. But the tag team main event was phenomenal. The Brawling Brutes versus Pretty Deadly for the NXT Tag Team Championships. And Pretty Deadly they have redefined, tag team wrestling in NXT. They have such great teamwork. And I'm not even talking about tag team moves. I'm talking about the ability to help one another. They have tag team, like one of the spots was, I think one of the boys was in a arm bar, and the other one jumps in the ring to grab him by the hand and pulls him to the rope. Pete Dunne hits the bitter end. The other guy's right there to put his foot on the rope. They're constantly there to break up stuff. They're doing other things like the slingshot move that they did, the slingshot into the code breaker, which was a great spot. It's like, individually, there is no individual member of, Pretty Deadly. They are a team, not just that they dress the same and they have similar look and similar gimmick or whatever. It is they literally work together, which is something that is pretty rare and common in tag team wrestling right now, where, everybody has their own spots. Even when you look at somebody that's a sort of tag team specialist like the Young Bucks, they do a lot of tag team moves, but guys are left to kick out on their own. Some of the escapes, some of the actual, aiding one another kind of stuff is not really all that well done. But this was a really good match. Imperium came down there to interrupt the match and is essentially the reason why the Brawling Brutes lost. So Pretty Deadly win, which was, of course, the right decision, because unless the Brawling Brutes are going to stay, why would you put the belts on them? This kind of harkens back to the Solo Sikoa thing, right? So, they fight off. Brawling Brutes and Imperium, they fight off, leaving Pretty Deadly in the ring. And Idris Enofe and Malik Blade, as well as Briggs and Jensen, come out to face off with Pretty Deadly. And I was not thrilled about this, because Idris Enofe and Malik Blade are a fun team, but like they were told earlier, they're not serious. They're not a serious contender. Have they even won a match? I can't think of a single match that Malik Blade and Idris Enofe has actually won within the last month, 2 months. When was the last time they won anything? Briggs and Jensen at least won something recently. I hate them, but at least they won something recently. But it also states it shows the tag team division in NXT is an absolute disarray. It's an absolute disarray because Pretty Deadly are dominant. They have no real opponents, which is unfortunate for them. But Pretty Deadly was very good tonight. Alba Fire attacked Toxic Attraction in the parking lot because, of course, she hit them both in the stomach with a baseball bat. Neither one of them took a bump. They just kind of walked around holding their stomach, which is not the way you sell getting hit with a baseball bat. That's not how you do it. That's not the preferred method of selling getting hit with a baseball bat. Also, you would have think that would have played into the finish of their number one contenders tag team match. Kind of didn't, though. Now it was a solid enough match. It was Toxic Attraction versus Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark. We started this thing with a vignette for Casey Catanzaro and Katana Carter, or whatever the fuck their name is. Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, I'm sorry. And we finally get some backstory on them. And I forgot, they've been in NXT for 2 or 3 years. And I really didn't know anything about these two. So this was enlightening. So we learned from Kaden Carter that she's always wanted to be a wrestler. She was also an indie wrestler too. But for Katana Chance, aka Casey Catanzaro, her first love was gymnastics. And she got into wrestling, during the tryouts and everything, and decided this was something that she wanted to do. So after wrestling for a short amount of time, she figured this wasn't for her, and she was going through a difficult time and was looking to leave the business. And this left, Kaden Carter in a weird position because they were tag team partners, and then Katana Chance walked out. And they talked about, bonding during that time and how, Kaden Carter felt alone and all that kind of stuff. But now Katana Chance has, come back. She's found her passion for the business. She's back into it. And that they wanted to do this thing. They wanted to go on this tag team championship journey together. And they have done so. And now they're not going to let this whole thing go, which was interesting. And they were watching the match backstage. Zoe Stark is a phenomenal in-ring competitor. She is very fast. She's very fluid. Unfortunately, she's got the personality of a textbook. And there's just nothing you could do about it. I mean, I guess the team with Nikita Lyons works because Nikita. Did you see that video Nikita Lyons put out there with her in that punching bag? Man. Oh boy. Anyway, Nikita is, all charisma. She's look. She's charisma. She's money. But she's not the worker that Zoe Stark is. So they're basically the Heart Foundation, where, Nikita Lyons is the personality and Zoe Stark is the technical expertise. I still greatly disagree with Nikita Lyons being in the tag team. She shouldn't be sharing this spotlight. But I guess it's a good way of making sure Zoe Stark doesn't get lost in the shuffle, because, Zoe Stark doesn't have a chance in hell on the main roster. She doesn't have a chance in hell. Without a good gimmick, she ain't got a chance in hell of making it on the main roster. But with Nikita Lyons, at least she has an opportunity. I would hope that they would form more of a union, though. Like, they still come out to their own separate theme songs, and they don't look like they hang out or anything like that, which is becoming a thing with me now. I'm starting to pay attention to, how people are supposed to be tag team partners, supposed to be in a faction, supposed to be friends, and they're not hanging out with one another. In any event, JC Jane threw a fit after they lost, because Toxic Attraction has been losing a lot lately, so I don't blame her. I don't blame her at all for being upset. Seems pretty nonsensical to me to beat them all the time, but, it's kind of, they're the gatekeepers now. They've been tag team champions for a long time. And hopefully this is, their last match and they get called up, because it's necessary. And I would rather them get called up to SmackDown. than to constantly be on NXT doing jobs. Now, I don't want to see that, if we're being honest. All right, so let's go back to the start of the show. Oro Mensah was defeated by Carmelo Hayes in a very solid match. I was surprised they threw this match out there with no build-up and no storyline, really. Actually, what am I talking about? It's NXT. Trick Williams, of course, has been a distraction and actually was the reason that Oro Mensah lost this match. So Carmelo Hayes wins. He goes over onto the commentary booth and says that people said he was on a losing streak. We said losing streak where? Now he's going to sit back and watch to see who is going to be in his ladder match. So the next match was Von Wagner, the Von Wagon, versus Andre Chase, a North American Championship ladder match qualifier. This match featured Carmelo Hayes stunting on commentary, saying that he used to wish for setbacks for Christmas so that he could overcome them and stunt on these hoes, which was amazing. That guy's ready. You know, like he's ready. We can get him on. You know, I don't know if there's a space for him on SmackDown or Raw, but he needs to be seen by more people. You know, this Carmelo Hayes thing needs to blow up a little bit more. That guy's, you know, he's got potential. He's got a hell of potential. So Von Wagner wins. Rob Stone was outside the ring, and as usual, he was getting humiliated. He got carried around by Thea Hale. He also got body slammed by Thea Hale. So Thea Hale got over at least by beating up Robert Stone. Whatever. I couldn't stand this match for obvious reasons. I hate both of these guys. It's very rare that I watch a match and I hate both people involved. But I really don't like Von Wagner, and I can't stand Harlem Bravado bum ass. I can't stand him. Next, Brutus Creed was backstage, pretty beat up, upset, very upset. And his brother was there to sort of try to calm him down after Damon Kemp beat his ace with that chair. Then Duke Hudson wandered in off the street. Who knows where the hell he was all these many weeks? Maybe he was hiding from Jake Atlas. In any event, he wandered into the scene and was started messing with the Creed brother, saying he wanted to see what 10 chair shots looked like. So then him and Julius got into each other's faces, and Julius challenged him to a match later, to which Duke Hudson accepted. Later that night, Julius Creed absolutely squashed Duke Hudson. To be quite honest, this is not something that should happen to somebody the size of Duke Hudson. Duke Hudson is, 6'4", 6'5", and he lost to Julius Creed in like a minute and 30 seconds. It's like Creed did a great suplex to him. It was fantastic looking. A cartwheel slam and then a basement lariat, and that was it. Duke Hudson basically got his he caught his issue. So Julius Creed is on the microphone, and he gets called out by Damon Kemp, which is probably the better way to put it. Damon Kemp says that after they have some banter back and forth, that Julius might be his brother's keeper, but his brother is his bitch, meaning Kemp's bitch. Then they banter some more about what kind of match they're going to have. Julius doesn't really care, but knows that there's going to be some stipulations. So Damon Kemp says that when he wins, Julius isn't going to have to leave NXT. Brutus is going to have to leave. So Brutus accepts on Julius's behalf, which, upset Julius. But then Julius was like, okay, but I want an ambulance match, to which Damon Kemp accepted. Not bad. The promo work could definitely be better, but these are guys who are not used to doing promos. They just don't have enough experience doing promos. But it was okay. It was a live promo between two guys who don't usually do promos, so it was all right. They definitely need to get better, though, because there was a little too much stalling, a little too much posing from Kemp, but it was okay. It turned out all right in the end. Sanga was backstage, disappointed in himself for not making a North American title ladder match. Nathan Fraser was also talking about this ladder match and, his the ending of his trilogy with Axiom that nobody cares about. Sanga is rooting for Nathan Fraser to not only win in the trilogy, but to win the North American title, which Nathan Fraser was very excited about because at least somebody cares about him. Nobody else does, though. While Sanga was sitting there still kind of moping, Veer Mahan appeared, confirming what everybody has been talking about for the last couple of weeks, that Veer Mahan is likely going to be sent back to NXT. And guess what? I'm not mad about this. I think Indu's share is great. I think they will be a great bodyguard tag team. I personally would put them with Jinder Mahal. You know, personally, that's what I would do. Speaking of Jinder Mahal, I haven't seen him or Shanky in months. I don't know. Maybe they're sick. Maybe they both got the Yovid. I don't know. Maybe something else happened. Maybe he fell down the memory hole and Shanky is trying to use his extra long arms to pull him out. You know, maybe something else maybe something terrible happened and they got sent to India or something. Anyway, Lash Legend, she was walking around backstage, and our good sister Lash Legend once again looks like a drag queen. God damn. Anyway, she was backstage talking about how she talk it, but she walks it too. And this week she's going to give Wendy Choo the business again. 2 for 2 on the boots to the face. That didn't happen. Wendy Choo defeated Lash Legend in a match that I really didn't care about. Wesley, I forgot to mention this during the Carmelo section, that he said that he gave Carmelo a receipt for bashing his head in the locker. They said he's focused on the ladder match, but there's a piece of him that really wants to fight Carmelo again. Then Stax shows up. Stax says that it's about time the real Wesley showed his face, and that this ruthless Wesley who injured Tony D'Angelo is the real Wesley. Wesley, of course, said that he didn't do that on purpose. And Stax said, you know, when it comes to Tony D'Angelo, there is no mistakes. There is no coincidences. You know, that's not how they're taking it. They're taking it like he did it on purpose. I like this. So they're going to continue this feud. Stax, it came across like Stax was impressed by Wesley at first. That's kind of how it felt. It felt like he was impressed, you know, but I don't know. Maybe it's just the way that the guy delivered the lines, but I'm interested in what they might do with Tony D'Angelo in the future. Cause you know, he's another one that is probably ready for, you know, a bigger stage than he has right now. Even though I think they figure Tony D'Angelo doesn't really need to be elevated, but everybody needs to be elevated. It's NXT. What are you doing? Gallus, they cut a promo. They're suspended indefinitely, but they claim that they're not going to be suspended for very long. Then they caused NXT security soft and said they're not just coming back for the tag team gold. They're also coming back for Braun Breaker. Interesting. Speaking of Braun Breaker, Ilya Dragunov had a promo. He says that he never feared pain. Pain makes you feel alive, but agony is different. And the snapping of his ankle and having his title ripped away from him was agony. Circumstances not an opponent took his championship, and that he had to sit back on the sidelines and watch as NXT UK took his last breath, knowing that it should have been him in the ring defending that that NXT championship. And he says he can't change the past, but he will change the future. And he intends to be the next NXT champion. I really like this guy. I'm not even going to hold you up. I know I kind of shit talked him before and being a small Russian, but I am a fan of Ilya Dragunov and his intensity, and this promo was very good. Or the segment, it's kind of more of a vignette. It had B-roll footage, so it was a bit of a vignette. We got also JD McDonough. He did one as well by saying he's the only man in NXT to have wrestled both Ilya and Braun, which I don't think is true. I think Zion Quinn also wrestled both of them. He says that you may think that these are two different people, but they are the same person. They're both incredibly energetic, highly passionate, but they don't have a brain cell in their heads. He intends to let these two animals tear each other apart because the smartest man will win this match, not the biggest and the strongest. Later, Braun Breaker is talking about this match, but he's interrupted by Big Body Javi, who says that Big Body Javi has the brain of an elephant. And that Braun Breaker's kind of dumb for wanting a triple threat match when he lost the NXT championship in a previous triple threat match. Braun Breaker said that he let his temper get in his way on the first one. His pride got him into this one. But he's also feeling like he wants to have a match with Big Body Javi next week. And apparently that is official. Big Body Javi will be doing the JLB to Braun Breaker next week, which ought to be fun because Big Body Javi is a fun-ass character. I don't know, man. I haven't seen this guy that many times, but just being obnoxious the way that he is great. Big Body Javi is fucking hilarious. He's a dumb guy, man. He's dumb as shit. I love it. Next, we got Grayson Waller and the Grayson Waller Effect TV show, which features a ticker at the bottom of the screen full of quote-unquote fans really hyping up Grayson Waller and how great he's doing and all that kind of stuff, which is hilarious. Grayson Waller was the host for the Cora Jade Roxanne Perez segment. He was the star of the show, though, because he showed how really good he is at promos. And this guy is phenomenal at promos. Grayson Waller is really good at talking. You know, I looked him up because a lot of people were calling him Marky Mark, and I didn't understand what they were talking about. But he wrestled under the name Matty Wahlberg on the Independents, so he has some history. But I was like, why do people keep calling him Marky Mark? He doesn't look like Mark Wahlberg, but I guess it was the Wahlberg thing. In any event, he's also 32, which I had no idea. He need to get out of NXT if he's 32. There need to be more kids down there and not so much guys like him. He need to get the hell out of there. He's very good, so he doesn't need to hang around NXT. I mean, for what? I thought he was younger than this. I thought he was like 26 or something like that, 25. Or I thought he may even been younger than how, his body size is, but that's just kind of how his body is. So he's definitely going to be some slimy heel, because he's not going to be able to develop much more than he is now outside of maybe getting some muscle on him. Anyway, he had to sit in the middle as these two argue, Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. So Cora Jade thinks that Roxanne Perez cried to get this rematch, and she uses others to get what she wants because Roxanne just ain't good enough. And she's definitely not good enough to hang out in the generation of Jade. Roxanne Perez says that everyone wants to see her kick Cora Jade's ass, and that she's going into this match with no emotions, and said that they wanted to do this tag team thing together. They wanted to do the WWE journey together, but since I did a little bit better than you, you got jealous and turned on me, and said that she's glad that nobody was buying into Cora Jade's good girl act. This is the real Cora Jade. Grayson Waller kept interrupting them, which was great when Roxanne Perez was talking because she had nothing to say. Cora Jade didn't have much more to say, but at least, she's a heel, so she can antagonize. But Grayson Waller was the excellent heel in here because he kept yelling at both of them. For starters, because they dared speak on his show, which was great. And then he had news. Like, he had a real reason for being here. He had news. He said that he knew what kind of match they were going to have. And he also announced that they were going to be doing Pick Your Poison over the next 2 weeks. And they said everybody on the roster is available. So that means both of these girls could be wrestling anybody on the roster, including the men. But we know they're not going to pick men because that would be dumb. That would be dumb. And plus, somebody already said, Roxanne Perez versus Omos or something like that. Which is not going to happen. It has to be somebody that they can both beat. And this is very interesting because Impact has been doing a Pick Your Poison too. And they did it in a pretty epic way with, what was it? It's not Mickey James. It's not Mickey James at all. It was Jordan Grace and Masha Slamovich, where Jordan Grace had to fight Max the Impaler and Masha Slamovich had to fight Ali Catch in a no disqualification match. So I really wonder who they're going to have, because both of these girls have to win, right? So it's not like you're going to pick Bianca Belair for one of them to wrestle. It's not like you're going to pick, fucking Liv Morgan for one of them to wrestle because they have to win. So who would it be? I don't know. That's the interesting part, I guess. Next, Grayson Waller said they were going to have a spin the wheel, make the deal match. He was so excited, he decided to go spin the wheel himself. So he danced on over to the wheel to spin it. He paused first because that a guy in a hood was had him deeply concerned, and he thought it might be Apollo Crews. He lifted up the sleeve of this guy, noticed that it was a white man, and said, "Oh well, I guess it's not Apollo Crews." Then he spun the wheel, and it landed on Weapons Wild. So basically, some kind of no disqualification match. While he was doing that, Roxanne Perez was staring at him, and Cord Jade tried to take a sneak attack, but the kendo stick was caught, and they started, fighting. They then were separated by security. Grayson Waller got into the ring to sort of yell at them for fighting on his show when he was attacked by Apollo Crews, grabbed by the ankle, pulled under the ring. And then when he came back, he had red eyes, red like pink eye red eyes, and he was crawling away from Apollo Crews. I gotta tell you, the Apollo Crews spots was the worst spot in this part of the show. I don't think this Apollo Crews thing is working. I mean, feel free to correct me if you think that it might be working, but it ain't look like it's working to me. It ain't looking good, this Apollo Crews red eyes thing. I don't know, man. Grayson Waller is working very hard to get this over, but I wish he was working hard at something else, because this Apollo Crews thing seemed to be dead in the water. It's not really working. Schism, they were backstage. The hoodie girl was trying to give away pendants earlier in the parking lot to NXT. She was trying to give people buttons, but they wouldn't take the buttons. And so now backstage, the dyad and Joe Gacy was giving her a hard time. I haven't mentioned this girl for a while, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about it here. She's always appearing during the Joe Gacy segments. Usually she's sitting in the crowd, or she's standing on the bleachers or something like that. I just kind of ignored it because I always figured it's probably going to be Isla Dawn, and she's going to be revealed later. And I still think it's going to be Isla Dawn. But in this segment, Joe Gacy said that he was disappointed in her and that he needs more results. And she was very disappointed. She put her head down, and then Cameron Grimes came in there later to talk to her, give her a little bit of a pep talk, how she doesn't need the dyad and she doesn't need the schism, and that all they're doing is manipulating people and manipulating her. And then she basically sat there, and the dyad attacked Cameron Grimes and beat the shit out of him. I mean, just really, really went to town on Cameron Grimes, beat the tar out of him. Joe Gacy was then very happy with Red Hoodie Girl, and hugged her and welcomed her to the Schism's tree. Now, we know it's a female because of the body type and the body shape and everything. I'm tempted to believe that it's Isla Dawn from NXT UK, because she wasn't fired from NXT UK. But she wasn't the only one that wasn't fired. I think there was another chick named Stevie Turner. I don't think she was fired either when NXT UK closed down. I think she was also still there. But Isla Dawn would fit this gimmick, Now, Isla Dawn is a lot like what Alexa Bliss was doing when she was doing the Fiend stuff. But, Isla Dawn is a Wiccan. Like, I think she's like a legit Wiccan. So she was doing like tarot cards and, Wicked Witch of the West stuff. And it was fun in NXT UK. And if she's going to do that in NXT, that could be fun too. So I'm hoping it's Isla Dawn, that would be great. If it's anybody else, some people have said, oh, it might be Tiffany Stratton. I'm like, man, if it's Tiffany Stratton, I'm telling you, I'm throwing my TV. If they fuck over Tiffany Stratton, that character, by making her a follower in Joe Gacy's, I'm throwing my TV. I'm flinging that motherfucker like a frisbee across the street, because that's just stupid. I'm going to have to catch a flight down to Florida and have a conversation with Mr. Shawn Michaels. But I don't think he's that dumb. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be Isla Dawn. So that ought to be fine. Ought to work out just fine for everybody. What else is there? Axiom cut a promo saying that the trilogy ends next week. He tried to tie it to superheroes and superhero trilogies and, you know, reading comic books. But no, this one is real life, and it was kind of dumb. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. This was pretty stupid. This Axiom thing ain't working out. We probably should consider shelving it. Probably consider putting Axiom on the shelf. Anyway, Hank Walker was backstage. Hank Walker was hanging out with the security guards. He's the pride of NXT security. And he promised not to let these guys down. But, you know, he goes out there. He's going to have a match with Zion Quinn. Then he kind of gets a pep talk from Quincy Elliott, who tells him, hey, I kind of pissed off Zion Quinn last week. Might want to watch out for him. And, you know, Hank said, oh, yeah, sure. I'll keep an eye out for it. Then he promptly did not. And he ended up losing to Zion Quinn. This is perfectly fine, though, because Hank Walker still had a really good showing. What they had is Hank Walker, like, ripped his shirt off and everything. And he's working not a wrestler style, but a brawler style. So this was excellent. You know, it was excellent. But it was short. It was sweet. Zion Quinn wins. Perfectly fine. After the match, Zion Quinn is going to attack Hank Walker again and, you know, knock him out or whatever after he'd already beaten him. But then Quincy Elliott comes in to make the save. And Zion Quinn turns around and leaves. So they're still building this Zion Quinn, Quincy Elliott thing. I have no idea why they would do that. Why? Why Zion Quinn and Quincy Elliott? Why? I really want to know why. I know some people are like, why not? But look, stop being an asshole and explain to me why this was a good idea. Again, Zion Quinn is a guy who, you know, is money. And I think Hank Walker, there's something interesting for him. You know, there's some interest there when it comes to, you know, Hank Walker. You know, yeah, he's not in the greatest of shape, but it makes sense for him not to be in the best shape, considering he's a bodyguard. Well, he's a security guard. Oh, I just happened to peek online and I see that Vic Joseph and Mackenzie Mitchell got married. So that's why they're not on NXT this week. They just got married. Okay. Whew. He was ruining his life some other way, not by getting fired from NXT, but actually he was getting married. He got married in Italy. That's nice. Congratulations to Vic Joseph and Mackenzie Mitchell. Yeah, you know, congratulations. Now, what was I saying? Oh yeah, Hank Walker. He doesn't wrestle, doesn't fight like a wrestler. He fights like a guy getting into a fight, you know, so it's perfectly fine the way that he wrestles, and it was okay for him to lose too. Because Zion Quinn is a big guy, strong guy, scary guy. He should win more matches anyway. They called him like the Samoan Ghost or something like that. I don't know if I like that one. I mean, I need to let that one sit with me for a little while. You know, the Samoan Ghost. I don't know. But as long as he runs his forearm into that, you know, that head of Quincy Elliott, we'll be all right. But I don't think so. I think that they're still trying to push this bullshit with Quincy Elliott trying to help him get over, which is a huge mistake. I cannot stand it. He sucks so bad. He sucks very, very bad. But we are in the world we're in. It's, as they say, it is current day. All right. So as far as NXT was concerned, it was an okay show. Not my favorite episode of NXT, but Pretty Deadly versus the Brawling Brutes was very good. I enjoyed that. Enjoyed the Ilya Dragunov promo, some of the backstage stuff. The JD McDonough promo was also very good. Toxic Attraction versus Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark was pretty solid. Carmelo Hayes and Oro Mensah was solid. Of course, Carmelo did a great job on the microphone. So it was a very solid episode of NXT. Didn't have too much to complain about, but there's not a lot to write home about. But what did you guys think? Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.